Welcome back and good afternoon. It's Tom Kissack here to deliver part two, Jonathan's Tales, a tool for English language competency. So it would be fruitful for all readers to first have an inkling of how Jonathan's Tales came about. The stories were told with three main aims when I related them to my son after his bedtime toilet, and he, snuggled in bed, asked me to tell him a story on his chosen binary theme, a theme quite plucked from thin air out of his head. For example, the parrot and the woodpecker, or the dragon and the window. He allowed me to think for a minute or two on his chosen story title, and then I plunged in. The rest is history, and over 3 years I told and recorded over 100 stories on my Android. Excuse me. Telling these stories, I acknowledge privately that I had a captive audience in my son, and I instantly realized an opportunity. And that opportunity was a decision not to gift him just an entertaining story at his bedtime. I made a promise to myself, recognizing this was a unique opportunity in creative reflection, that I can pass on to my son many things metaphorically about my own life, my experiences, both good and bad, my knowledge, and especially imbue the stories with moral lessons. I use Jonathan's tales to introduce moral themes to my son on universal subjects like the importance of love and kindness, the transforming power of forgiveness, the immense gift that friendship bestows on our lives, the virtue of honesty and loyalty, and the specialness of inclusivity, emphasizing difference not as a challenge, but as something to celebrate. There was, in fact, more I hope to convey, the fact in all our lives there is only one true certainty. Life as we know it will change, not only in subtle ways, but in high moments, in big ways, and in those big ways, often irrevocably so. All the stories within the narrative in Jonathan's tales, and especially in their conclusions, involve these what I might describe as eternal verities. As the slide indicates, I began the stories with three main aims. Firstly, entertainment. Secondly, education, to impart facts. And lastly, to subtly imbue the stories, especially in the denouement of the tales, with moral themes. But there was a fourth silent aim I had also considered, more so at the back of my mind, but rather pertinent to this video and the intended future ones. An aim having its antecedents going way back to my university career, recruiting international students for several decades. The aim was to create a body of work that will be advantage to anybody that wishes to explore and extend the English language competency. Of course, one could argue that all reading does that. That said, I had the idea Jonathan's tale could in turn, in time, serve as a tool to improve one's understanding of English and enhance the status of learners to become excellent conversationalists. With this silent aim in mind, I deliberately peppered the narratives of the tales with a richness of idioms, phrases, sayings, and proverbs. The emergence, and I flagged these up at the back of the book, the emergence of these idioms, etc., in stories is not surprising for one obvious reason. The tales I told my son were delivered verbally, and in the nature of interactive storytelling, creating stories in what might be called verbal live stream, idioms and phrases, arise naturally through language communication to give a flavour and poignancy to the stories. So having shot the audio narrative through with such colloquial gems, One might well ask, was telling the tales the full extent of the resultant idioms, phrases, sayings that arose in Jonathan's tales? I will take a short breather and pick up this question, but as a final exercise in this part two, have a look at the slides giving explanation of the three idioms I use in the preceding narrow. I will part with you for now. I say goodbye, and I look forward to seeing you again in part three very soon.